Our topic was overpopulation and the injustices that stem from it.
Overpopulation of a species is the term used when the numbers of that species start to exceed the resources available to sustain them. This can be caused by an increase in the number of babies being born and also by the population living longer lives. Modern medical advances mean that people in developed countries are now living much longer lives than in the past. There are around 80 million births each year globally, and together with lower death rates, this means that the human population has been growing by another billion people roughly every 12 years. This increase is dramatically faster than even 100 years ago. The problems and injustices that stem from this are staggering. Most of our environmental problems, such as climate change, habitat loss, and resource depletion, comes from overpopulation. Countries most affected by overpopulation are in great danger of food and water shortages. Also, poverty levels in these countries are skyrocketing, where they are least able countries to get out of it. To go along with these, women's rights, such as lack of education and access to contraceptives, are at the forefront of injustices when it comes to causing overpopulation. People in these poor countries, such as India and Africa, do not have the money, resources, or quality government to get out of this cycle of overpopulation and poor quality of life.
A country's ability to feed itself very much depends on three factors: availability of arable land, accessible water, and population pressures. The more people there are, especially in poor countries with limited amounts of land and water, the fewer resources there are to meet basic needs. If basic needs cannot be met, development stalls and economies begin to unravel. In some poor countries, attempts to increase food production and consumption are undermined by rapid population growth. Knowledge for world leaders to be able to manage a limited resource with a growing population will be critical for to have in order to maintain or grow their nation's prosperity. On the other hand, if current water resources are not properly regulated, an eventual increase in world population will become problematic for many regions and countries. Overpopulation will strain current water resources to their limits, causing an increase in water pollution and lead to an increase in civil and international conflicts over existing water supplies. And food water shortages is causing injustice to these people in poor countries, limiting basic resources to survive.
The lack of women's rights causing overpopulation is another injustice. Both men and women play a role in human population growth, but when it comes to reproductive decisions, women are disproportionately affected by a lack of empowerment and access to healthcare. In the world's poor countries, women do not have the right to control their future. Women in these countries do not have the access to proper birth control or any contraception. Added on with very little education and complete male dominance, these women end up having 5+ children. Women's rights are an environmental issue. In order to make sure we leave room for wildlife, it's critical that every pregnancy is planned and that people take the environment into consideration when planning when or if they want to have their family to grow. When women have access to voluntary contraception and equal education, they tend to choose to delay childbearing and have smaller families, leading to lower fertility rates. In addition to helping the environment, women's rights are human rights, and helping women in these areas of the world will benefit everyone in society as a whole. What can we do about it? Population growth is a huge problem in the world's poorest countries and is disproportionately affecting them. But there are still things we can do to help. Society as a whole can empower women, try and provide quality education for all, ending poverty, global justice, and make the UN create ending population growth one of their biggest goals. Now, obviously, these are very ambitious goals, but there are still some things we can do at an individual level to help fight population injustice. You can read more about population growth, donate to family planning in other countries, reduce your own personal consumption of natural resources, and when you're older, consider adoption for yourself. Population growth and the injustices stem from it are hurting our society and our earth. But becoming educated and taking action can help start the movement to change.